Hi, you're listening to the TL Podcast. My name is Thomas Hoang, and I am interviewing someone who seems ordinary, but who is achieving extraordinary things. That is the quest of this interview. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm working with Eunice Chiu. She's a psychologist and she's the founder of Your Millennial Therapist. She also runs a podcast which is called Eunice Co Podcast. And she's also an author of an ebook, Attack the Roots of Your Patterns. Now she has figured and appeared on a few workshops with Google Sydney, the KPMG. She's been on the SBS Insight. And really we have the privilege to have a psychologist answer questions about what it is to perform in a sales environment.
Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning, Martin. How you doing?
I am totally amazeballs, Thomas. I love Mondays, 5 whole days before I can take a break.
I can see you're on fire. You're always on fire, by the way. But
You better believe it. Ka-cha, come on.
Well, listen, I thank you very much for joining me on the podcast, and I hope we'll be able to share some gems with salespeople today and business owners in sales. And probably at the end, I'll probably ask you about how people can join you or look at working with you. All right. So to start with, this is the first time we've met. So this is going to allow me just to check out and see what is it that makes Martin, is it Eade, right?
That's it.
Who he is. So why don't we just start with maybe your humble beginning in one of the toughest sports in the world?
Sales, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I started as a 13-year-old. I started as a 13-year-old knocking doors back in New Zealand, actually, and I was collecting money for the Waikato Times back then. So I was a 13-year-old debt collector, and I got 10% of everything that I collected, Thomas. And back in the 70s, I was able to collect between $200 and $300 a day. So I was getting $20 to $30 as a 13-year-old in the 1970s, which was a lot of money back then. And interesting, looking back, I now realize that I was actually framing conversations as a 13-year-old because I wanted to get, when I looked in the book, I wanted to get the big debts because they were the ones that I get my $2 or $3 commission on, right? So yeah, that's where my sales career started.
Right. Okay. But then alongside that, there was probably early rise because you're an athlete as well, right? You're a rower.
Represented New Zealand at Commonwealth Games and World Championships, yes.
Yes.
And that really formed a pivotal part because, and that's why everything I do is called sales cardio, right? You can see it behind me because I truly believe that sales and sport is very closely linked because, as you would know as a sales professional, it's all about repetition. It's all about constant improvement. It's all about, immersing yourself in the mindset is a big thing in sales, as you would be well aware, especially in your chosen profession of real estate. And those are all the things that you get in spades when you compete at that level, right? Because it's, and I use in my facilitations, I say to people, when I started selling and someone said no for the first time, I didn't cry and go, I've been rejected. Like a sports person goes, right, how can I improve to beat you next time?
Right.
And I think that's been my motto the whole way through. It doesn't matter for a salesperson what the deal looks like or what they've done wrong or anything like that. It's just about, okay, that's behind you now. What have you learned? How can we improve it next time?
Right.
Where do we go to from here?
Okay. So you came fourth in the Commonwealth Games, correct?
Yes, a dreadful fourth it was.
What do you mean a dreadful fourth? A very close step to bronze, but it's
Yeah, we got fourth at the Commonwealth Games, and then a few weeks later we got. I think we made the final of the Worlds, and we got sixth, but it was like 3 seconds from first to sixth, so it was a very very close race.
Right.
Um,
Which
and
which one which one was most painful, Martin? Third or sixth? A fourth or sixth?
I would say fourth because we didn't row well. Like we didn't do. We looking back, it coulda shoulda. If we'd have rowed how we rowed a few weeks later, we would have absolutely got silver. We would have been every crew that we competed at the Commonwealth Games we beat a few weeks later. Um, and it was all because we didn't have the repetitions in. So we at the Commonwealth Games, very few Commonwealth countries rose, so there were no heats. It was a straight final, and so we hadn't. It was our first international race. We didn't know what to expect, and we had big Lake Strathclyde, big side chop. It was just so fourth hurt. That's for sure.
Right. Right. Okay. Oh, well, at least you answered totally differently to what I thought. I thought, you would have said, oh, well, that hurts more because we were so close from third, that would have given us a medal. But when you said that hurts because we didn't give it our best, that to
Yeah,
me says a lot about your mindset, right? So it's not about the outcome. It's that journey. It's that pain of why didn't we give it our best? I think that, that's great sharing. Now, he, so to stay in the Olympian, we're gonna get into the sales side, but to stay as an athlete, you wrote the Olympian, a book that just came out about some 3 years ago. So
yeah.
so what happened? That fourth position haunted you? What's going on? And is the
Well, that was just I love language, Thomas.
right?
I was good at English all the way through school, and I knew I wanted to write a book. And so it's actually it's fiction. So it's about a rower at the Olympic Games in England and in London in 2012,
Oh,
and about a terrorist attack, and about how that all pans out. So it's kind of I like to think of it's a cross between, let's say, Dan Brown and maybe Lee Child or something like that. It's kind of my character is a big 6'5" single sculler. So yeah, it was just a fun way of you know getting my first book written. But it's not a sales book. It wasn't a biography. It's just purely made up.
yeah. And so you started that book around 2008. So imagine if that book came out in 2011, Martin.
I know. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was uh, that book took so long to write. Oh my God. Writer's block, got put aside, sat on the shelf. And I guess a little bit like sales sometimes, right? I got stuck and I didn't know how to get unstuck because the book just sat for 2 or 3 years. And then I remember going away, taking myself away on in the bush for a few days. And I thought I'll write the end. And so I wrote the end. And then all of a sudden, okay, now how do I get from here to the end, which is exactly what I do in sales, right? Where are you now? Where do you want to go? And once I'd written the end, then I could, okay, now I know the character developments. Now I know how I'm going to get the character there. And then I was able to fill in the gaps. So I didn't expect it to happen that way. I just thought write the book and flow. But no, I got probably 2/3 of the way through and I just got stuck. I couldn't see how all the characters and all the storylines, all the plot lines would come together. So then when I wrote the end, I figured, okay, now I can then I was able to fill in the dots. So it was kind of a fun journey.
That's
Painful, but fun.
that's amazing. So you've done now selling as a young child. So and it's not selling. I think that was entrepreneurship. Then you've done uh, rowing, probably one of the toughest sports because you guys wake up winter, summer, or when it's raining or not at 5 o'clock in the morning in the water. You've done the book writing, which to me sounds like a marathon. And then on top of that, you're a cancer survivor. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, see, the cancer was only very, very early. So how old would I have been? I reckon I was about 21, 22. So I had testicular cancer. So woke up one day and what do guys do? We play with ourselves, and I felt a lump there, right? And I thought, not sure that's been there before, but I was wise enough to go, maybe I should go see a doctor. So I did, went to see a doctor. Then they sent me to get an ultrasound. And then the next day I was having one of my testicles removed. Out it comes. And, but it was because I was so young. It was never a matter of, there was no doubt in my mind that I'd be fine. Zero. Like it was just, okay. I remember there was one occurrence when just after I'd been diagnosed, I was actually driving back to my house and there was a go stop. I'll never forget. There was a go stop man. There was roadworks and I was first in line where the go stop guy was. And I remember because they call it tumor. So I had a tumor. I thought, oh, cancer. And then it was like, oh, I got cancer. I started to cry, right? And I could see the go stop man going, well, he's really upset that I've stopped him. But it's the only time that I thought, you know what? It was like just that, oh, I got cancer. 20-year-old. Shit, that sucks. But yeah, it was never a matter of, I just never gave it another thought.
That's amazing.
But it's all these battles that we face through life, right? And of all the cancers, testicular cancer, if you guys are the one to get, because it's got a cure rate of 98.9%, I think it is. So it's a very high cure rate.
Yeah.
So if there's a cancer to get, that's the one. But back then, it was daily trips into Peter Mac Institute in Melbourne and radiation treatment and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't a great deal of fun, but shit, so many people have a lot worse, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, so now that gives us a little bit background about you. And I was just thinking about Alex Jordan, a real estate agent up in Queensland that I interviewed, a very similar kind of mindset as you. So thank you very much for sharing about yourself. Now, you now run Sales Strategist. Can you just tell me a little bit, what is it you offer your clients? What is Sales Strategist?
Well, the one thing that I know for sure is that for the most part, people are resistant to sales. They don't like selling. And small to medium-sized businesses, they'll focus on anything else. Like sales are down. Let's spend more on marketing. Let's spend more generating leads. And that drives me nuts. Why don't you spend more time converting the leads you've already got? And when you're in the SME space, like I am, there's a natural aversion to sales. They prefer to do anything else first. Like I prefer to clean the toilets. I just don't like to sell because they have this mindset of pushy, smarmy, manipulative, old school car sales techniques, which is totally inaccurate. And when I worked out that, because I'm very much, I love the power of language. And I was given an opportunity. Have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Kerwin Ray?
No.
So Kerwin Ray is one of Australia's leading business coaches, and he has 300 odd people within his community, which I joined back in 2017. And he said to me at the time, I had an equipment business. He said, Martin, you can sell. Could you coach sales to these businesses? I said, I can give it a crack. And that's when I realized that this was my life's purpose. I've got no doubt that I was put on the earth to do what I'm doing now, because sales is transformational, not only in a business, but in life. And I've touched so many people who maybe haven't had the confidence, they maybe haven't had the language to have conversations with their family members about things that are important to them, to their spouses, their wives, their children. And having people ring up after a sales course and having people say, Martin, you've changed my life. That's why I do what I do. It's not about the money. It's about empowering individuals, because sales, as you would know, we all sell all the time. A parent sells the benefit of healthy eating, going to bed on time, right? And if you're in a relationship, like I'm sure you are, that's a constant sell job, right? So we're always selling, but yet people are resistant to it. And so I spend a lot of time with people on mindset and then take them through a process, right? Let's build your sales process, which is something I learned from sport, right? What's your process of next steps? Because most people will ad lib. And even in your market, real estate agents, I'm working with a buyer's agency at the moment, and everyone on their team pitches differently. So the message about their brand is always different, and it's also bringing awareness around metrics, right? What is your conversion rate from every stage, from first phone call to appointment to site visit to demonstration to whatever it is, and now you've got all that. Okay, now we can take that for a spin. But there's always a way. You would know this, Thomas. You've been in it long enough. If you debriefed with one of your team members on their sales process, you would be able to figure out pretty quickly what happened, like what went wrong.
Yes.
And I guess that's my superpower, because I can talk to someone for 5 minutes, like, tell me what you did. What did you say? What did they say? What were the responses? What was your process? Okay, this is the missing piece.
Yeah.
Whack this piece in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's small stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a psychology of sales, isn't it, Martin? You're going too fast. I just want to go one step back. You said a little bit earlier that when you make a sales, your clients actually have got not only the business transformed, but also there's a transformation in life. Do you want to talk a little bit about this, please? Is that what you refer to when you talk about heart-based selling?
Yes, it's heart-based selling. Yeah, it is, absolutely. It's learning how to speak from the heart. And I know from personal experience that I've got goosebumps. I know from personal experience that one of the things that I teach mostly is honesty. Like, always be honest. Because if you're honest, if you tell the truth in a sales engagement, it can never be seen as smarmy, manipulative bullshit or anything like that, right? But yet so many people have a fear of telling the truth, because the three biggest fears in sales: the fear of rejection, they fear failure, and they fear conflict. But let's say we were able to take those three fears away, and no longer do I fear conflict, do I fear rejection, or do I fear failure. All of a sudden now I can tell my truth. And it's all what I call about framing conversations and about being intentional with your language. And when you are in a relationship like that, which I am at the moment, so I'm on my third significant relationship. I've been through 2 marriages.
Yes.
But when my partner and I, Natalie and I, decided to enter this relationship, she's a spiritual healer. So she's done a lot of work, as have I. And we said, you know what? Let's practice radical honesty in our relationship. So no matter what comes up for us, we're just going to tell each other how we feel. We're going to tell each other where we're at. We're not going to blame. We're not going to accuse. We're just going to communicate with each other. And gee whiz, Thomas, what a relationship. Because you can imagine the relationship is just, there's nothing hidden. It's all trust. We can expose the raw, the horrible, ugly parts of us to our partner and be fully accepted for who that is. And that's empowering. And in sales, it's the same, because it's all about just be honest with the client. Tell the buyer what you would think. Have the confidence to walk away. But more importantly, I talk about prizing yourself. And so from a sales perspective and from a personal perspective, you're a 1 in a 760 trillion chance of ever being born in the first 760,000 chance of ever being born in the first place, right? So you've got an obligation to show up as you in a relationship, at work. Just show your authenticity, because again, you would appreciate in your line of work that people buy off authentic people. And I can't pitch like you. You can't pitch like somebody else. We're all of our own unique spirits and souls.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, engaging in the heart, sell from the heart, sell, but not being a pushover, because heart-based selling is not being a pushover. Heart-based selling is having a framework of what I call boundaries. And that's frame control as well, like having boundaries. And what do those boundaries look like? And be able to challenge people on their boundaries, both in your personal life and in your working career.
You're going spiritual on me. You're going spiritual on me here. This is nice. This is nice to hear, Martin. So, I'm listening, right? And I've been in sales long enough now, and I see that quite often some people, when they are under pressure, they would tend to break their values. and it's easy for them to lie because, if you mix, it's a cocktail, right? If you mix 8 lines of truth and 2 lies that are important to you, maybe the client's going to take it. So I'm just thinking, is it possible really in sales for people to be 100% honest at a time? And does it come at a cost? And how do you deal with clients who then will say, well, I listened to the liar, I like what he said, and I'm going to pick the lie?
There's no gray. You either lie or you don't. You're either honest or you're not. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And the power of honesty, the complete power of honesty, if you're being completely honest with a buyer, and honesty in sales, let's say I was trying to sell you something and I was going through the discovery process and I was understanding a little bit about how you work. It's not about telling you what you want to hear, because that's bullshit. That's lying. It's about, because when what I like to say about sales is, if you cannot improve the life of the buyer and make the world a better place, walk away. And so my primary motivation, and most people that I work with, they'll have a purpose and a mission, right? And the purpose of a skincare clinic is to help an individual, empower an individual through the way they look or they feel. If you're a plumbing service, they're empowered to solve the water issues or whatever it is. Everyone's got a purpose.
Yeah.
And if you're true to that, and your sole purpose is to help improve the life of a buyer, lies don't come into it. Bullshit doesn't come into it. And from a sales perspective, if you're honest, what happens next is the buyer engages with you. And if you have a frame around it, they won't discount. They won't ask for discounts. They won't be recalcitrant. They won't shop around. They won't ghost you. Honesty has its own superpower. And because it's not practiced a lot, and people smell bullshit, Thomas, you would know this. People know when you're bullshitting them. And all of a sudden their spidey senses go on alert. And they say, this guy's talking, I think he's bullshitting me, but his deal sounds, I'm going to see if I can get it cheaper than I possibly can, than he's offering it to me for, right? And then you have the fight. But if you stand purely in your power, in your authenticity and your honesty, you watch sales will go up, discounts will virtually you won't be asked to discount again, and the buyer will engage, and you'll have buyers for longer because they can trust you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like you, some of the best deals that I've ever won have been through saying to a buyer the first time I've engaged with them, I can't help you. Someone else, this product or this person is better off to help you. When they come back again, and that attracts the mammalian, like the mammalian brain is going, oh wow, that's high status thing to do. They don't need my business. And so when they come back again and they say, great, I can help you with that. I've done deals with people where I've started working with them and they don't know the price until they get their first invoice, because they trust you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And actually, you're talking about the power of walkaway, which is, I think, one of your videos as well on your YouTube channel. Now, I believe that we shouldn't really lie, because you have explained that there's 3 reasons why most businesses don't succeed. And it is lack of confidence in the sales team, they're using old sales techniques, and also they're not hitting their KPIs. But really, people don't realize that the more you lie, the lower your confidence level. And at some stage, if your team is filled with lies, it explains your first reason why most businesses don't succeed.
Totally. And I learned back when would it have been? When I first came to Australia to establish a turf seed division for the business I work for. So it would have been 1989. I landed my very first large account, and Julian, her husband, are still my personal friends to this day. But I remember she rang me about because that was she was doing like $1 million a year, which back then was a lot of money. And she rang me up one day and she says, Martin, such and such hasn't been done. And I remember vividly, because I had 2 options. I could have either made up excuses, but I remember thinking, you know what? even back then, I thought, I'm too stupid. I can't remember lies. And so I just said to her, Julie, I forgot to do that. And like the antagonistic approach that she brought to the conversation fell away straight away. She says, well, we all bloody well forget. Just don't do it again. And I thought, wow, that really worked. And that was my first attempt at, right, ultimate responsibility was on me. I'd made a mistake. I could have said someone else is responsible, this, that, but no, I did it. I forgot. This is on me. There's nowhere now for that conversation to go. Yeah. And who hasn't ever forgotten anything? Like, there wouldn't be a single person on the planet that's not forgotten something, right? But it's all these little things that I've picked up over the years, techniques, and it's like the empathy section that I use as well. I go through a discovery process, find out the pain point or issue that the buyer has. What most people will do is they'll go straight to, right, this is the solution, right? No, don't do that. Stand in the client's shoes just for a moment. So, Thomas, what I understand from you is that blah, 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 right? And you'll actually watch the shoulders of the client relax because yes, they're listening to me. And I got that from a previous relationship. My first wife, God bless her, cotton picking socks, 5 foot tall, redhead Irish. So you can imagine that. And so I worked out pretty early on that when we were having a robust conversation, I was best just to sit back and then say, so what you're telling me is, and you can, the tension just, yeah, that's because now the argument's not, you're not bloody listening.
Yeah.
It's not about that, right? And this is in sales, this is the whole thing about when you're trying to overcome objections, right? You're trying to convince the buyer that they're stupid and wrong. And that's a great way to start a business relationship, isn't it?
You speak in, you use the word cadence. So it's probably from your rowing days, which is probably about routines, right?
Yes.
But in real estate, most salespeople, they've got a fear of loss into them, and they always allow clients hijack their time. How would you change that mindset? So we know that they have to prospect every day, and we try and slot a time for prospecting. But there's always that phone call that's going to hijack them from the most important activity in the day.
I love this question because time is my high. So two of my highest values, being on time and doing what you say you're going to do. And so I leverage time in my sales process all the time because part of pricing, one of the most common greetings that you get from a salesperson is, hi, Thomas, thanks for your time. Now, immediately you've said to the client that their time is more valuable than yours because you've thanked them for their time, right? And I go, at my time, you should be thanking me for my time. This is the pride. This is my mindset. I don't say this to a buyer. This is my mindset, right?
Yes.
And so I'll say to a buyer, hey, look, Thomas, it's great that I was able to clear time on my schedule for you today. Hey, Thomas, I noticed we've only got 30 minutes allocated. We've got a lot to get through. If it's cool with you, let's just jump straight in. And now I've set a time on it, right? So they know 30 minutes. And now I'm going to hold people within their boundaries. And what you'll find is that a lot of salespeople, and in your business, in real estate, one thing that I don't like is rapport, because rapport is lazy. It's just lazy. It feels good, but it takes everyone nowhere. And if you are going to do to get a listing, for example, let's say you're going to get a listing, and you walk into somebody and you're looking at the photos on the walls. Oh, your child goes to Scotch College. Oh, mine does too. What sport do they play? They know you don't care, and you know you don't care. But if you just walked in and says, hey, look, Thomas, we've got 30 minutes. Hey, I'd really love to get to know a little bit more about your house. So take me through it. The buyer is not going to pause you and say, oh, look, I want you to ask me about the children on my photograph there, and I'd like to hear about yours as well. It's just the only reason you're being nice is to sell them something. But what better way to be nice than to walk through their home, and ask them questions about their biggest asset, which is the asset they love, building rapport naturally anyway, and positioning yourself above somebody else who camps out in low status stuff.
Right.
And you have time blocking is so I love to hear that you time block. What's the worst that can happen if a buyer calls in and you don't take their call? What's the worst that can happen? If they're calling in, they want to hear from you anyway. It's just a matter of calling back. And I think the one thing that salespeople don't like doing, and let's face it, very few people do, is that cadence around, right, an hour of calling today or 2 hours or whatever it might be. They don't. So the first distraction that they can find, great, I'll do that now because that's the path of least resistance. But once you develop the cadence, once you develop the muscle of, right, hour a day, hour becomes then an hour 10, then becomes an hour 30, because all of a sudden it's something that is more enjoyable to do. It's not repulsive.
Yeah.
And so, but it's all about setting boundaries around time.
Yeah. Listen, it's not every day that I speak to a champion rower, so I'm going to ask you. You're in the middle of your rowing competition, or you're coming to the end. I don't even know which part is the most painful, the last part or the first half. And so every stroke is a little bit like a phone call, right? A phone prospecting call. How do you overcome that pain when the muscle want to say, just give up? When the sales call, the salesperson's thinking, man, I've been getting a lot of no's today. I don't think I can just do another 10. I just want to give up. So what is it that you did in the rowing days that maybe we can learn from when we're doing prospecting calls?
I love that question. So for me, it's all about the highest level of ingrained learning. And when you start anything out, let's say you started out and you wanted to run at the Olympic Games, you don't start running at the Olympic Games. You start by running to the letterbox and you gradually build up those muscles, right? And so when you're in the final, it's the final 250 meters, by the way, Thomas. So in the final 250 meters of the World Championship, and you are the lactic acid has built up in your body, and your body is just screaming at you to stop. You're trying to suck in the air, but you just cannot get enough air, and you're getting into tunnel vision. You think you might actually collapse. The stress is that great on your body. The one thing that is going to override your body is your mind. And in that moment, that mindset, your body is now on autopilot. You're doing it automatically. And it's exactly the same in sales. And the biggest issue in sales is the close, right? And you would hear this with your teams. The vocal tension starts to rise. The words start to speed up.
Hello, I lost you there. You gotta come back.
They're indicating to the buyer they want to be anywhere else but in the...
Yeah, I lost you there.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back now.
But in your sales teams, I would imagine, so when they're in the close, the vocal tension starts to rise, right?
Yes.
Or the words start to speed up. And it's all about the highest level of ingrained learning. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And then they're on autopilot. They're just doing it naturally. You don't have to think about the close anymore. And it's all about how many times you practice.
Yeah.
And just being in that natural cadence of, right, I've done this many times that when I go to work, I just pick up the phone. I dial 20 phone numbers, then I do 5 more.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering though, when you're there and the muscles want to, so when you're there and the muscles want to give away, the lactic acid now is saying it's screaming through your veins. What's in the mindset? Do you go, I can't let my team down, or I can't let these guys get ahead of me, or man, I can't lose second position, or my sponsorship is about to disappear? I mean, what is going through the head?
For me, back then,
Yeah.
I would just chant to myself, this is easy, this is easy, this is easy, over and over again. And yes, I wanted to win, totally. So it was that I'm not losing. So yes, there was that. But it was also, this is easy, this is easy. And the friend I was mentioning earlier on, Kerwin Ray, he has a chart. This is simple. This is easy. This is fun. This is simple. It's a very simple mind
I
hack.
love it. I love
But
it.
if you're doing something that's difficult and you're saying to yourself over and over, this is simple, this is easy, guess what it becomes? It
I love
becomes
it.
simple and it becomes easy because you're not focusing on the pain. If you were focusing on the pain, I remember a few years ago they had a Australian woman rower. Remember, she laid down in the boat at the Olympic Games, and like because she was focusing on the pain, right? Um, Instead of right, yeah, I can't quit, I can't quit, and she'd done all the training up to that point, and it's all a matter of walking away. I did um, my biggest pitch to date just 2 weeks ago, Thomas. It's a really big pitch to me. It's a potential $1 million a year training. And the decision of the organization will come down this week. And my partner said to me, so you're nervous? I said, no. She said, why not? I said, because I absolutely crushed that pitch. I did everything that I possibly could. I did everything right. And so if for whatever reason the businesses we decide not to work together, then I'm completely okay with that because we're not meant to be together anyway. Would I like to work with them? Hell yes. Are they a good fit? They're right in my wheelhouse. But at the end of the day, also because and it's a bit like that story I mentioned earlier on about performance, right? One
Yes.
of my favorite rowing races was the one that always sticks out to me is one we lost by about 6 inches. It was a battle all the way up the course, but it's the race that stuck out because it was so memorable, even though we didn't win.
Yes. Because you gave it your
It's
best.
if you give your best
Mm.
every single time and you don't win, that's okay. But it's when you don't give your best, when you pull your hook shot, when I don't feel like it. I'm a bit. That's where nightmares come from, right? Because you
Yeah.
could have done better.
Yeah. And hence it explains to me why you're very, very picky kind of coach. So you only work with sales team that are fully committed. Unless they're committed, you're not interested. I get it. That's a sports mindset. It's like I'm not going to waste a seat in the team, you know, when we can only send four, right? But what would you advise though teams that have lost that sense of commitment? So they obviously going to go to you. Half of them are half committed. The other half are non-committal, are thinking already about sending, maybe their CV somewhere else. So and you here only want commitment. So
Mhm.
how do you foster the commitment back into a team that's lost it?
It's small, what I call small micro commitments, and so
So I lost you again.
this happens quite often, especially with the high performers. Well, that's annoying. My internet's obviously slow, Thomas. Am
No,
I
no,
back
no,
now?
that's all right. That's all right. So you said you call it. Let's start. You said you called it something else.
So I will start with a series of micro commitments.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you'll have a sales team with high performing individuals, and you'll have a team with maybe not so. The only difference between the two groups is the high performers are doing something. What I do is I work with both groups, but specifically
I'm losing you there. So
the low performers, and I give them as a sport. What I might do, Thomas, I'll log in. I've got another Zoom screen. I'll log into that one. That might give us a steadier connection.
all right, all right.
Are we back?
Yes, we're
Yeah,
back. We're
we're
back.
back. One sec.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Whoa, no, that's not going to work either. Hang on.
No, because the other one, yeah.
There we go. That should be better. Whoops.
It works well now. I like it.
Righto, there we go.
Are you in the spiritual room now, Martin? Looks like there's a Buddha behind you, and
the spiritual room is actually just over there. So my partner, Thomas, when she sells, I met her through my work.
Yes.
And I asked her what her sales process is, and she says, well, I start my sales process with a meditation. And I'm going, okay, wow, that's different. So, but it works really well. And funny thing about 2 weeks ago, she's doing we had a clash. So we had an 8 o'clock clash where I come along with my ka-char, and she's actually in the middle of a meditation. She said to me, don't come in here with your ka-char. And so I'm on when we were talking about authenticity earlier on. So I'm on this thing. I'm going, ka-char, get out. It was so awkward. Anyway.
Oh God, you're alive.
But yeah, when we were talking about micro commitments,
yep,
and the difference between a high performing sales team member and a low team member is that the high performer does something different to the low performer. That's all it is. And so I give the low performing team members, or the team members that may need a bit of a beef up with their mindset, I give them a few things to do that they can implement in their sales process that will turn things around straight away. And when I say straight away, I mean straight away. I can be on a call coaching someone right now once I figure out where their issues are, and I can give them some things to implement today, and they'll come back tomorrow and go, holy heck, that worked. My conversions went up, or it'll give them a couple of small wins to start with. But for me, sales is also about accountability. How you hold yourself accountable, your team accountable, and your buyer accountable. And so the one thing that I say to any business that I work with is that I'll bring the accountability. And if you don't do what you say you're going to do, I'm going to be on you like white on rice. Out of love. I'm not a dictator, and I won't whack them over the head. Okay, so I might whack them over the head sometimes. And what we'll find pretty quickly, particularly because I get invited into some businesses who might have some sales talent that struggle. And I say, okay, so this is either going to work one of two ways. Either we're going to get significant growth in a very short space of time, or they're going to deselect. And either's okay, right? Because if someone's in a sales environment where they're not performing, they, for whatever reason, feel they can't hit the KPIs or the milestones, then the opportunity in their business isn't for them. And maybe their dream job is just around the corner. But what a lot of business owners will do is they'll hold on to sales talent for way too long. Hey, look, we'll give them a quarter. We'll give them another quarter. We'll give them another quarter. Sport's not like that. Like if you supported the what footy team do you support, Thomas?
I don't really follow footy, so don't ask me a question. I'm into Formula One.
Great. Okay. Well, Formula One. Okay. So Formula One. So let's look at. Gosh, I'm not, but Piastri. Oscar Piastri, right? Great. So if Oscar Piastri all of a sudden started losing his form, and every race he crashed his car, or every race he got a DNF, or he could not make the grid, stuff like that, his team aren't going to stuff around for too long. They're going to replace him with somebody else. Yeah. They will only accept poor performance for a short space of time. They'll give him all the love that he needs and all the support that he needs to get back on the victory dais, but they'll be ruthless. And you need to be ruthless in a sales team as well, because, and I say this, and it is true. Salesmen are expendable. Like there's many salespeople out there, but not everyone is cut out to sell real estate. Not everyone is cut out to sell equipment. Not everyone is cut out to sell skincare therapy. It's a matter of what they're inspired to do, right? So, yeah, accountability is key for me.
Okay. So what would be the mindset now you would advise a brand new salesperson?
So I work with lots of brand new salespeople, and for me, it's that prize frame, and the prize frame is something. It's your mindset, right? And so when you walk into a sale, it's Mr. Buyer, I don't need you. You need me. I don't have your pain or problem. You do. I live in the promised land where your pain or problem doesn't exist. I'm busy. I'm choosy. Mr. Buyer, you have to win me. That mindset of sales reduces a lot of the fear to start with because the new sales talent is in complete control. And providing they have the support of the business to think this way, and I always, one thing I love to do, Thomas, is that I'll flick up a slide and I'll say to people, hey, look, I happen to have a superpower right now and I can project into you the mindset of anyone that I choose. And so I will always choose Elon Musk, right? So, and I'll say, right, if you had Elon Musk's mindset, how would that immediately change the way you sell? Well, I wouldn't stuff around. I'd do this, I'd do that, I'd do that. They'll come up with 4 or 5 things, right? And then I'll say, great, okay, congratulations, you've now got Elon Musk's mindset. You have it, you just weren't using it. And so it's little things like this, which aren't that little. 4 weeks ago, I did a close more deals challenge. So I had 50 salespeople from 20 businesses on the call. And on day 1, we did an hour on mindset and pricing. They had to report their results. Day 2, they turned up. Day 2, after 1 hour on mindset and pricing, $642,000 worth of revenue between them at a conversion rate of 82% after 24 hours.
That's amazing.
No sales tech, just mindset and pricing. That's it.
Yeah. So would you say that mindset is what, 80%, 20% skill?
Oh gosh, everyone can have the mindset, but mindset is it's not a little thing. You know, you get the right sales mindset, and even in this big business that I'm pitching to at the moment, it's a multinational brand that you would be aware of. And when I was sitting in front of their 12 senior managers 2 weeks ago, what's the biggest issue that you guys face? Or mindset. Okay, and these guys are they're $1 billion organization.
Yeah.
And in businesses like that, they're aware that mindset of their sales team is still not right. And I see it all the time. That's the one thing that we can make a difference on straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, mindset's important. Mindset, process, because then very few people will actually follow a process all the time. Yeah. And then how you pitch your business in a way that's not solution selling is dead. In a way that's different, that leads people to bestow expertise on you. You can't say we're number one, we're the best. But if you can pitch in such a way that the buyer joins the dots, they're going to want to work with you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, really, to go down to the mindset talk, this explains why on a day, a lousy tennis player can beat Roger Federer. I mean, Roger might beat him 15 times in their 16th encounters, but that one time he lost. It's not because the other chap's now way better skilled. It's sometimes just that mindset that maybe Roger failed that day, on the day, or the other person's master because he's seen 2 or 3 things that Roger's done wrong, and he start focusing on that and get Roger to focus on that weakness of his, and then suddenly it's gone. And I think that this is why a lot of business owners, when their team's not committed, they try to push them to go out again. You know, it's a bit like that Top Gun movie, get him flying again and again and again. But in sales, you don't have that luxury. So you want to make sure that they get it right before they go out again. Therefore, the work of the mindset is way more important than skill.
Yes, and 100%, 100%. The issue that business owners face is they're busy doing everything else. And I made this mistake myself in my equipment business, where I would employ sales talent and I would assume they knew how to sell. And I'd say, great, you know how to sell? Here's the features and benefits. Now get out there and sell. Cost me millions of dollars over the journey.
Yep.
Business owners need to go, okay, this salesperson needs to prove to me they can sell, and have an onboarding process so that they can sell to you. And because sales is something not many people understand, when a salesperson's in a slump, it's just like Adam Gilchrist or Steve Waugh. When you're in a slump, how do you get out of it? You need coaching to get out. And cricket's mostly mindset as well, right? Right. And so now I need to get someone in to help coach my team. And I think that's the biggest thing, that so many businesses don't actually invest in their sales team. It's just, right, oh, you got a problem? Go fix it. Well, if you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it yourself.
Okay.
It's like someone that's depressed. A person that's depressed goes to seek professional advice to help them with their depression. Because if you're in a depressed state, you can't figure out how to get out yourself. It's the same in sales. If you're in a sales slump, if things aren't going well, and you get told just go and do more of the same thing, well, you're basically saying to someone, go and fail again and hope that you get it right. Well, hope's not a strategy in sales, Thomas, as you would be aware.
Oh, we're running out of time, but I just want to ask you now. So how do people get to work with you?
So all people would need to do is just log on to thesalesstrategist.com.au. That's our website. I post daily on socials. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, you name it. So I would start there. I give out a lot of free content, Thomas. So the one thing about, and this is the non-needy part, right? Because I could give you a pitch right now about why people should come to me and I should facilitate with them. But what I prefer people to do first is that, no, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, right? So I would say to people, immerse in the free content that I'm putting out. Jump on our email list. I share free content. Jump on the website. There's a free sales diagnostic you can do. And actually figure out, you know what? Does this guy resonate with me? Is the message something that I think could help myself and my team? And if it is, great, then we can have a conversation. But I like to take people through an acceleration process, which gets someone from where they are now to where they want to be in a very, very short space of time. I've done this long enough to know it works. And that's also why I have money back on everything. So at the end of a facilitation with a client, if a client says, you know what, that was fun, but it hasn't worked, they get their money back.
Wow.
The caveat is they have to turn up, because I know if they turn up, I'll get the results.
Yeah.
And in all my time as a sales coach, I've never refunded anyone a cent, because what I do works. This isn't about feeling good. About 2 weeks ago, I started working with a guy, and he committed to come to the program. It's an interesting story. He'd committed to come to the program. I'd sent him the invoice. He hadn't paid it. And I said to him, I rang him up and I said, unless you pay for it, unless you do something, you're not going to come along, and then I can't help you with the results. And so he said, okay. So I put a deposit down. I gave him a bit of free content, and he jumps back in the next day. He said, from that free content, I just sold $17,000 worth of product.
Wow.
Going, wow. And so then he comes in. Yeah. As you can probably tell, Thomas, I love what I do. And if I gave any of your clients or your listeners anything, I would say to them, do something. Take your sales process seriously. If sales are down, if you want your sales conversions to rise, do something. Now, to start doing something is review your process. What's your process? Talk to your own team. How do they pitch your business? Go out on the internet and have a look, because any sales coach, whether it's me or someone else, is going to give value to your business. then it's just a matter of figuring out exactly what you want and where you want to go, and then maybe get into that selection if that's where you want to go. But a lot of working on your sales process wouldn't involve any expense at all. It's just having a look, getting some ebooks, implementing something, just do something, getting clear on your conversion numbers.
Yeah.
And as I said, yeah, jump on the website, have a look around, and if you think we're a good fit for each other, let's have a chat.
That's nice. That's nice. You're in Melbourne, right?
I'm actually now on I'm on the Sunshine Coast. I was in Melbourne and London. I'm now up at Noosa.
Oh my God! So you moved up?
Yep.
Just where the sun is all year long.
I moved up for love, Thomas.
All right, good on you. Good on you. Now, here's the last question on this podcast here, because I like to talk to you further at some stage. How do you know you're living an inspired life, Martin?
That's a really great question. How do I know so the question was, how do I know I'm living an inspired life?
Yes.
Because I can't wait to get up in the morning. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. When people are asking me, when are you going to retire? I'm not. I plan to go down swinging. I think a life well lived for me is the day that I end up getting into the casket. They're just sliding the casket on and I'm saying, just one more thing. So as long as I can do what I love, my passions are exercise. So I get up and I exercise every day, 4:30, 5 a.m. I've got a gym here at home. So I'm in the gym. So I like to feel good. And then I love talking to people. I love making an impact. And yeah, probably like anybody, the day I have to go, oh my God, I've got to come into work, I won't do it. But that's not me. And I guess I started out this conversation by saying, hey, Thomas, it's Monday. Absolutely great. 5 whole days before I get to take a break. That's my mindset. I love what I do. And so that's how I know I'm living an inspired life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this. I really appreciate you taking the time and share.
Anytime, Thomas. It's been absolutely lovely to connect, and I look forward to chatting again.
Thank you.